You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
The 2018 minor league baseball season is in the books, and we welcome you into this week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast from MILB.com, fresh off the crowning of the AAA national champion Memphis Redbirds on Tuesday night. We're all done in 2018. We recorded the season preview episode 12 minutes ago, and we have wrapped things up so far. It's how it's gone here this season. My name is Tyler Ron, Sam Dykstra, and Kelsie Heneghan in New York City, as Kelsie was in attendance in Columbus, Ohio for the AAA National Championship game. And welcome, guys. Hello. How's the day after the end of the season in the offices today?
Well, I hopped off a plane in Newark, and I came straight here just to talk to you two, so it's already gone swimmingly.
How long were you thinking about the Miley intro?
Well,
since you got off the plane in Newark, or was it?
NWK doesn't work with like LAX, but I did think about that while getting ready this morning.
Yeah, it's always weird how the season kind of ends, because anybody who's been listening to the podcast knows, we've been talking about wrapping things up. Regular season. Last week we talked about some champions. More champions were crowned. We'll get into more about that later in the episode. But the AAA National Championship does really a nice job of tying things into a bow, finishing things off. It's the same day every year, or it's put on the schedule
Tuesday.
Yeah, months in advance. So this isn't like a World Series. Could go 4 games, it could go 7. We always know when the minor league season is coming to a close. So, there's a feeling of finality in the office today, I would say.
It's pretty crazy. We did have one other series that could have gone until Monday. It did not. The Midwest League, the Peoria Chiefs, were able to wrap up that title in 4 games instead of taking it to the full 5. We're all wrapped up. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Show Before the Show. We're with you all off season, of course, as well. We'll be back coming up next week with the start of our off season episodes, but wrapping up the 2018 season here this week. And wherever you found us, we thank you for tuning in. You can give us a rating and a review and a subscription on iTunes and Google Play and everywhere else. And you can find the show at MILB.com/podcast. Actually did that last night, went back to episode, I think, like 27, and listened to our episode in which we interviewed Blake Snell from the Tampa Bay Rays, because I remember Blake Snell said in that interview, and Sam actually called this out earlier this year, he told us in that interview that he wanted to be a Major League All-Star, and I was thinking to myself, what if he also slipped in there, I want to win a Cy Young someday? Because Blake Snell won his 20th game of the season yesterday.
20 games, yeah.
Pretty amazing, and he has had one heck of a run, obviously due to the Show Before the Show bump, which we didn't have to give to the Memphis Redbirds, although they will get a posthumous bump for their AAA National Championship, because Stubby Clapp, the manager of the Memphis Redbirds, talked with Kelsie the other day in Columbus prior to the AAA National Championship game, but that game wrapped up last night. 14-4 was the final, Memphis routing the Durham Bulls. Rematch of the 2017 edition of the AAA National Championship game, also with which we had Kelsie in attendance. And so, Kelsie, just kind of run us through this matchup. 2 teams that each won their leagues to set up this rematch. It's not often that we get both repeat champions in the International League and the Pacific Coast League, but 2 teams that you were familiar with seeing last year playing this game, and then they match up again this year. What stood out most in 2018 versus 2017?
Well, what's interesting is that, yes, it is, a repeat, but all these teams, there's so much turnover. I think each team only had a handful of players that were there last year, and then you get into pitchers who didn't even play in the game. So it's, it's like college, but even more so that getting a repeat champion is pretty difficult because it is just a completely different team. But no, both clubhouses, they have young managers, Jared Sandberg and Stubby Clapp. They both were players in the early 2000s. So they both keep it fun. They keep it light. There's definitely a lot of joking around between the players and the manager, which I always like to see because I think that helps them play better. And Alex Mejia, the MVP for Memphis, also said that their friendships help a lot. So he said that the clubhouses he's been in, when the friendship is there, that's when they tend to succeed versus when it's slightly less than friendship. So that was something I noticed from the beginning about how, it is a rematch, but it's also pretty different. And then obviously from the start, it was all Memphis hitting. From Alex Mejia, like I said, to Arozarena. Lane Thomas had a homer and a triple. Yes, they came out swinging, literally. And then Herget, the pitcher for Memphis, actually, he was one of the guys on the Memphis roster last year, and he wanted to pitch in the game, but because of his, his last start was a little too recent, so they said, we'll put you in the bullpen, maybe you'll play, and he didn't get to, and he was kind of disappointed by that, so it was pretty cool that he got to come out and pitch for Memphis and start, and he did pretty well, too, allowing 2 runs in 5 1/3. So, I mean, it was a pretty good game overall. Durham did get some runs in there. Austin Meadows, who got recalled today up to Tampa, he got an RBI or 2. So, I mean, aside from the lopsided score, I think it was a pretty good game overall.
And one thing that I wanted to touch on, you tweeted this last night. I don't think it was included in any of your coverage, but you had a preview that talked about the rematch. You had a feature about Sandberg, the manager of Durham. You have this podcast interview, you had the recap and all that. But one thing that kind of got put off to the side, but what really stood out to me was you had a quote from Kian Wong, who is the younger brother of Colton Wong, a lot of people know, St. Louis Cardinals infielder, who earlier in the week told, I believe, the St. Louis Post-Dispatch that he thought Kian should be in the majors already, and that he was in a, quote, bad organization, and that they weren't rewarding him for being a good player, being the MVP of last year's AAA National Championship. I think he was the IL MVP of the All-Star game this year. Goes 1 for 5, leadoff player here, didn't quite show up so much in the game, but you got to talk to Kian about that afterwards. What was his reaction to hearing his brother, who I think was just being a good big brother more than anything than name-calling Tampa Bay, but what was his reaction to hearing that from Colton, and what did he have to say about playing in the Rays organization?
Well, like it says in the tweet, I mean, he said that he agreed with his brother. He wasn't, he didn't apologize for him or anything like that, because it's true. I mean, like I said, Durham only has, I think, 2 players from last year that are still there, and Kian Wong is one of them. I mean, a lot of the replies to that tweet were like, well, he's not doing that well. I mean, he hit 282 this year after hitting 261 last year across Durham and AA Montgomery, so he is improving. It does sound like he's frustrated, and obviously his brother's frustrated for him. I overheard a couple people think or speculate that his Colton was speaking after Kian told him something he wanted him to say, so it wasn't like just being a protective brother. He was like, let me use this platform that I have as a major league player. Right. But yeah, so Wong also touched on playing for all 30 teams, which when you first see that, it's kind of jarring, and it's like, whoa, are you supposed to be dedicated to your organization and to your system? But that's actually something that a lot of minor leaguers talk about, because trades happen, acquisitions happen, the Rule 5 draft happens. There's always scouts from other teams, and so you want to look good for everyone. You don't want to just look good when your team's watching. So I understand where he's coming from with that phrasing.
And I think that's something, we'll talk about more this fall, is that comes up a lot in the fall league as well.
Yeah, and just to jump in real quick, there's I did an interview with a Rays prospect a couple of years ago who said almost verbatim that exact same quote, and I found that fascinating, that it's obviously it's not just, this pervades the Rays system, but that it was such a similar tact to being down in the Arizona Fall League while I'm playing for all 30 teams, not just my own organization. I thought that was really interesting, that it was probably just a coincidence that it was 2 guys from the same system. But yeah, we do hear that a lot from the AFL. It's a good point.
Right. And well, no, go on.
I was just going to say, the first time I heard it was Daz Cameron, and he said he heard it from his dad, Mike Cameron. So I guess it's just been something that's been around for a while.
And it's something players talk to themselves, amongst themselves in clubhouses and dugouts, and passing ships, whether they're on other teams, whatever. Trades happen all the time, and to say that players don't get those choices, so the only way they can help their move up, either by playing well or getting noticed by somebody else, having some skill that is going to be more valued in another organization, is to do as well as they can, and they'll get that reward somewhere, whether it's with Tampa Bay or 29 other teams. So just to see both Wongs be that upfront about something that we hear all the time, sometimes on the record, sometimes off the record, was I think kind of refreshing.
Yeah, like double checked my memory that he didn't say like this is off the record, and he didn't. I have it recorded. But yeah, it was very keen, and that is nice because obviously there is a lot of frustrating things that happen when you're a minor leaguer, and so it's good that they can voice it and maybe something positive will come of it for Kian.
Kelsie, what's the feeling like among players after a game like yesterday? It's kind of a strange dynamic because we know you play and you fight so long to win your own league, the International League and the Pacific Coast League, and this is just kind of a cherry on top for whichever team comes away with a national championship victory in the AAA National Championship game, and you get to celebrate, you get another champagne shower and all that type of stuff, but it's kind of different because you're playing a team that you didn't see at all during the season. You don't have a whole, I mean, obviously there's some crossover relationships between players, but it's a very different dynamic in that game. What was the sense that you got from guys who are now, looking toward the off season, get to celebrate one more time, celebrate as kind of a postscript celebration to what you did winning your league, just kind of an interesting feel with the AAA National Championship game?
Yeah, I looked back, and this was Memphis's 4th champagne shower because they had the division, then the first round of playoffs, then the second round, then they won the PCL, and then this one. So, I mean, they talk about like in the majors with the, a playoff game and then like a wild card game. Like, is there too many champagne showers? And I will say that it did seem a little not subdued, but it wasn't like the craziest celebration I've seen. I remember last year Durham went really crazy. Brent Honeywell was in the middle of it, going crazy about winning.
And Willie Adamas, I remember going a little nuts too.
A national blanking championships. But I mean, they're still excited. Actually, before they started, Stubby was told them all, "Hey, you guys are adults. Let's celebrate like adults." And it sounded like the PCL championship celebration got a little wild. So I think that maybe that played into it. But no, it's fun. They still are, happy to win. You want to end your season on a win, and like you said, it is the very end. So I'm sure there's also some relief. And we did it. We went through another season, and who doesn't want a W as their last game of the year?
And one thing I want to throw in there too, because we tweeted out a video of the celebration on the field. I don't know if it was somebody from the Memphis staff or something, but they followed the dog pile and all that kind of stuff. And people were saying that seemed a little muted. They weren't jumping all over each other. They weren't going crazy. They just won 14-4. It's not like, hey, this was on a knife's edge and we just happened to fall into the they mentally prepared for it since probably, I don't know, the 6th inning at that point.
Yeah, we actually have had conversations in the office about dog piles and when it's okay. And just every World Series deserve a dog pile. So if not every World Series deserves a dog pile, then a one-game winner-take-all contest that some people
exhibition
calls it an exhibition. Yeah, doesn't necessarily deserve a dog pile, but I think they were still happy. They're still excited. They were ready to celebrate, and a couple of the coaches were lollygagging, talking to some execs who were in the hallway, and they were saying, "Come on!" So they definitely were excited and ready to enjoy it.
So the AAA National Championship game in the books. Congratulations to the Memphis Redbirds, national champs. I know the Redbirds already had it up on their the marquee at AutoZone Park last night as of 15 minutes after that game was over. So a pretty cool way to finish off the season for Memphis. And maybe next year, who knows, we might get round 3 in this Ali Frazier bout series that is the Redbirds and the Durham Bulls. And Kelsie, hope you enjoyed it. And great story up on the site, which you can check out right now. The game recap from last night and all the other coverage from the AAA National Championship game week this week, and thanks for coming on. Thanks for giving us the insight.
Of course. Thanks for having me, Tyler and Sam.
So big thanks to Kelsie, and we'll move on. Strike 2 this week, minor league postseason now in the rearview mirror, and Sam's got a Toolshed column up on the site about the top players of the minor league baseball postseason. We see guys just kind of carry their teams from year to year sometimes in the postseason. Who stands out most among the best performers this year, Sam?
Yeah, so if anybody wants to check out that, I say it in the intro, but just so everybody knows, this isn't me just regurgitating who the MVPs were of each playoffs across the minors, nor is it me trying to go up against the individual leagues and say, no, this player should have actually been MVP. It's just kind of like what we do every week during the regular season in terms of players of the week. This is me choosing my players of the postseason. So I went through all the major the major minor leagues, as it were, everything except the complex leagues. So all the way from the International and Pacific Coast leagues all the way down to Appalachian and Pioneer leagues, made some picks. But there's two guys I want to highlight there. And before I do that, let me just run down so everybody knows, because I don't think we've done this yet, who the league champions were in each league. Durham, Memphis, New Hampshire, Jackson, Tulsa, Rancho Cucamonga, Bowie's Creek, Fort Myers, Bowling Green, Lexington, Tri-City, Valley Cats, Eugene, Elizabethton, and Great Falls. So congratulations to all those teams. In terms of individuals who kind of stood out to me, one big one was Gavin Lux for the Tulsa Drillers. Anybody who remembers him, he was the 20th overall pick in 2016. He's now the number 6 prospect in the Dodger system, and that's a pretty solid Dodger system, all things considered. But he started out number 13 in that system to begin the year. Because of a down year he had last year at Great Lakes, didn't really enter, his first full season the way everybody would have hoped. Really turned things around this year. Hit 324 at both Rancho Cucamonga and Tulsa, so he's one of those guys who has a chance to get 2 rings, having started out the year at the Cal League champions, ending the year with the Texas League champions. But started to show a good amount of power, ended up with 15 homers, also stole 13 bases. In the postseason, he was playing up a level. Again, finishing out the year at AA Tulsa. He went 14 for 33, so that's a 424 average, with 2 homers, 5 doubles, and 8 runs scored in 8 games. He actually homered on the first pitch of Game 3 to help Tulsa sweep San Antonio, and that San Antonio team was very good. So, everything that he was doing in season, he carried over to the postseason. That's going to obviously leave a great taste in his mouth, great taste in the Dodgers' mouth in terms of who is he going forward? He's definitely going to hit. Is he a shortstop? Is he a second baseman? They'll have to kind of figure that out as the years goes on. But either way, he certainly showed a plus bat this season everywhere he played. So to see him carry that into the postseason and playing up a level at just 20 years old, he's going to turn 21 in November, is certainly big for him. The other one I want to feature real quick is Cavan Biggio, obviously in the Toronto Blue Jays system. Big season out of him. He was not ranked among Blue Jays prospects coming into the year. Now he's currently number 9. He was the Eastern League MVP. He hit 26 homers, had 20 stolen bases on a New Hampshire team that we feel like we talked about year in and year out. So it was really just that they won the Eastern League championship, of course. But he continued to perform same way. During the Eastern League playoffs, went 6 for 20. That's a 300 average with a homer, a double, and a league best 9 RBIs over 6 games. He also swiped 3 bags, tying the EL, leaders in Bo Bichette, John Birdie, and Santiago Espinal, which of course were his teammates with the Fisher Cats. So those are 2 infielders that already had their stocks coming up going into the postseason. Between them, they end up playing 15 games, 14, 15 games. But still, to do that in a big spot, to do that when your team really needs it, is only going to help their case. Biggio is actually going on to the AFL next, where he'll play under our guest this week, Stubby Clapp. Stubby Clapp is the manager of the team that Cavan Biggio will be playing with in the AFL alongside Bo Bichette and Vladimir Guerrero Jr., so that'll be very exciting. But he's listed as an outfielder. We'll have to see how he can carry that to the fall league. But in terms of minor leagues, really cool to see him end in this way.
So you'll get to see some of these guys continue. It's just it's so bittersweet once we get to this time of the year. It's like, yeah, cool, congratulations, all these players, and then it's like, oh, we don't get to watch you again for like 7 months. It's kind of a bummer. But some of them moving on to the Arizona Fall League, so keep an eye on those guys. And strike 3 this week, Sam. Last one to wrap up the minor league postseason. We had some interesting and strange routes to minor league titles this year from certain teams. When you look back 10 years from now, which championship team from 2018 will be the most surprising, which, as you phrased it, will we look back on in astonishment in 10 years?
Yeah, I think this is sometimes I get myself caught on Baseball Reference, just searching backlog minor league teams and realizing this player played with that guy in 1994. I remember doing that last year with Vladimir Guerrero, for a piece I did when he was elected to the Hall of Fame. What were his what did his AA teams look like? I think Jose Vidro was there. Charlie Montoya was who I ended up talking to for that piece because he was on that team now, a longtime manager of the Durham Bulls, now a part of the Tampa Bay Rays coaching staff. Just really funny things that you can find going through the backlogs of minor league teams. So who from the champions this year are we going to look at in 10 years and say, really, those guys were together at that point in their careers? I hope we never forget that Royce Lewis and Alex Kirilloff played together, and I hope they stay together and form either the top or the middle of the Twins lineup for a long time. But just that Fort Myers Miracle team that ended up winning the Florida State League championship, that team was just fully loaded by those two alone. I think those two are going to be really special going forward. I think Lewis kind of solidified himself in terms of being one of the top shortstop prospects in the game. Of course, he was the first overall pick in 2017, so everybody already thought highly of him. But for him to beat those expectations this year was really cool to see. Continue to show a plus bat, show a little bit more power than I was expecting. He hit 14 homers this year, ended up stealing 28 bags. A lot of people thought he was going to end up moving to center field at some point, maybe not this early, but looking more and more like a shortstop. So that's really cool. Alex Kirilloff led all of the minor leagues this year in extra base hits with 71 in 130 games. This is his first year back from Tommy John surgery, so he did not play at all in 2017. To see him do well and to see both of them rewarded in this way with the Florida State League championship. Right now, Kirilloff is ranked as number 30 overall in the game. Lewis is at number 10. Wouldn't be surprised at all to see them both be number 20 or top 25 or top 20 going into 2019. And not just because of graduations, I think because they both improved their games that much that the Twins are going to boast, two of the best position player prospects in the game. And the fact that they have come up together so well, both starting the year at Class A Cedar Rapids, then moving up to Class A Advanced Fort Myers and ending it with an FSL ring is really cool. One other name to mention from that team, another kind of pop-up prospect was Brusdar Gratterall, who is now the number 77 overall prospect in the game. Finished the year with a 2.74 ERA and 107 strikeouts and 102 innings. This is a guy who just straight throws gas, only 20 years old, 6'1", 180. Wasn't necessarily on a lot of people's, like top 100 radars coming into the year. He was the number 7 prospect in the Twins to begin the year. Now he's at number 4. Like I said, bumped himself into the top 100. But right now, 3 of the 4 Twins top prospects were on that Fort Myers team. They're going to be banking on those guys big time going forward. You can already tell they're planning for the future with this whole Byron Buxton mess, keeping him down, trying to keep him in the system for one more year, delay his free agency. So, they know what's coming in between Kirilloff, Steven Gonzalez has made it up there this year. Nick Gordon's not too far away. Brent Rooker had a really solid season. They can see the groundswell of youth coming, and I think it's going to be really spearheaded by the guys who are on that Fort Myers team. One other team to just mention real fast, because it came together very late, didn't win a championship, but I was still astonished by the roster that they had through the postseason, was the Princeton Rays in the Appalachian League. Wander Franco is somebody we talked about a ton this year. Might be our breakout prospect. We're going through Milby stuff now, but he'll certainly be in the conversation for, maybe a top 20, 15, even 10 overall prospect going into 2019 with the way he hit at rookie ball this year. And joining him were first-round picks Matthew Liberatore, Shane Boz from 2017, who the Rays picked up as the player to be named later in the Chris Archer deal, and Shane McClanahan. Just a really, really exciting roster. I think all of those guys are going to go different places in 2019, especially McClanahan, probably going to start out next year at Class A Advanced Charlotte. All the other guys will be at Bowling Green. Maybe they allow Franco to skip and go to Charlotte. Who knows? We'll have to see. But just the fact that all 4 of those guys came together for the postseason, we might be really surprised that they were together even for just a couple weeks come 2028.
And that will do it. Pour one out for the 2018 minor league season, which is now officially behind us. Didn't actually end until the end of 3 strikes for this week's episode of the Show Before the Show. Just kidding. We've still got way more coming up on this week's episode, including the manager of the AAA National Champion Memphis Redbirds, Stubby Clapp, got a chance to catch up with Kelsie Heneghan from the AAA National Championship game in Columbus, Ohio, before his team rolled over the Durham Bulls to a AAA National Championship. Stubby Clapp from the St. Louis Cardinals organization and AAA Memphis joins the show next.
All right, this is Kelsie Heneghan with MILB.com. I am joined here by Stubby Clapp, the manager of the Pacific Coast League champions, Memphis Redbirds. They're back here at the AAA National Championship for the 2nd straight year. So Stubby, is it just old hat now being back?
I don't know if it's old. I don't know if it's old hat, but it's exciting. You know, it's exciting to see these guys come out and get this opportunity after working so hard all year and kind of going through the transitions that they've gone through as far as roster changes and all that fun stuff. So we're looking forward to it.
I know you played in this game back in 2000 with Pujols and Matt Morris. What did you learn from? I know that was a series back then, but what did you learn from that experience?
Well, I learned that I liked the 1-game challenge. The 3-game series was a little bit much at the end of the year like that, but I definitely like the 1-game challenge and look forward to just winner take all.
What type of strategy does that present?
You just come out and play. You come out and play, give it what you got. You've got your pitching staff that you have. For the most part, there's a day off or 2 days off in between, so your bullpen gets a full rest, and you've got all hands on deck, and you just go at it.
Now, I know in 2001 you got called up with the Cardinals to play 23 games. How does that experience help you relate to AAA players now?
Well, actually, that's a really good question. It helps me relate in the way that I know what it's like to get called up. I know what it's like to be a fringe player where you're kind of going up and down, and understanding those difficulties of wanting to be in the big leagues, but sometimes you're stuck in AAA. So I kind of understand their emotions that they're going through, and being able to relate to them that way and help them get through those next stages to get to the big leagues and learn how to stay in the big leagues. So I think kind of that atmosphere, that idea of being able to relate to them on that level helps.
I know your first season as coaching was in 2007 with Greenville. Rodney Linares was your manager. He's now Fresno manager. I know you guys didn't do so well. I think you're 17 and 51.
You hit it right on the head.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that year. 17 and 51, our first year. And our pitching coach, Doc Ballou, he was the one that, he talked Rodney and I through it because he had been through it for so long. And, that was my first year coaching. It was almost my last year of coaching because of the way that season went. And Doc really talked to us and kept us in it, and my hat's off to him because he's the one that kind of kept me in this role.
Yeah, is there anything you've taken away from that season that has helped you through it all?
Yeah, sometimes you just there's things you can't control. You can't control the results on the field. You can control how to help prepare guys and how to help guys prepare themselves in routines and information, and nowadays, we have so many numbers and analytics that can help prepare, and you can teach that stuff, and you can help them do that. But in the end, it's them that have to perform on the field. So it helps you take a step back and release, kind of let go, and just let them go play and see what happens.
Yeah. While you can't control what's on the field, you do have back-to-back PCL championships. You've been named a manager of the year in the PCL. What has been the key for you?
I think being able to relate to the players, being able to relate to their emotions, the struggles they go through every day, being able to relate to them on the field with the intensity that's happening, and being able to control thought process and help them through that when the game speeds up, and help them slow it down and understand the big picture, helping them understand the process of getting to the big leagues and then staying in the big leagues. I think that's all helped, and then just trusting those guys and earning their trust so that they'll reciprocate it back, and we go about our day like that.
And then I know Memphis has already retired your number. What does the city and the club mean to you?
I love Memphis. Memphis has been great to me. They're great to me for my 4 years as a player, and it's been great to me these first 2 years as the AAA manager there, and it's been a lot of fun.
Is there pressure when you already have a number retired and you're still active?
No, I kind of take that all in just, I just take it all as just a number retired. There's still a big job to do. Getting these guys ready to play in the big leagues for the big league team is kind of what I focus on. I'm not worried about all that other stuff. That's just a side benefit, and we just take it like that.
And then obviously your predecessor, Mike Schlitt, has gone and become the Cardinals manager. How much does that help you realize that this system does care about the growth of the managers too, not just the players?
Yeah, I think if you look at that staff, excuse my numbers if they're wrong, I'm going to say 5 to 6 guys are Cardinal people on that staff now. So, that gives you a vote of confidence that if you do your work and you work hard and help produce the athletes, that potentially when something opens up, you might get a chance. So that's why we're here, and we all want to be in the big leagues. We all want the players to be in the big leagues, and when you see stuff like that, it gives you a vote of confidence to keep going.
Yeah, what would that mean to you if you were up in the majors with your players who you came up with?
Oh, obviously that'd be nice. That's always, it would be a fun part of it, but my job here is to continue to get these guys that are coming in from AA and A-ball and stuff like that, and continue to fine-tune them from where they're coming from and get them ready for the next level. And that's how I look at it. I don't worry about getting to the big leagues. That's out of my control. So I think just focusing day to day on what I can control, and that's preparing these guys that are here for now, and that's how I'll go at it.
A couple of weeks ago, you told one of my colleagues, Chris Bumbaka, that the season was like a hiking trail in Colorado Springs.
Yeah.
Can you just explain to me about that?
Yeah, the Manitou Incline Trail. It's a railroad tie trail, and it's a mile straight up. And when you start off in the bottom, it's a nice smooth pace. And as you get about midway, then the angle, increases. And then right when you think you're about halfway, and you look up and you realize you're only about a quarter of the way, that's the way the season has felt this year. Just with the transactions and the roster moves and stuff like that, the weather, the weather delays, especially in the playoffs this year. It's just like you think you're getting right to the top, and it's almost there, and then you got even bigger steps to take. So it's been a lot of fun, and we did that with my staff. And if you ask my staff, we all kind of relate to that trail hike that one day, that this is the way the season's gone, and we're going to finish it, and we're going to finish strong like we did there.
Yeah, good team bonding exercise.
It was good staff exercise, and we enjoy that stuff. We always try and find somewhere to go and experience something other than baseball together and grow together.
And then when this podcast airs on Thursday, the game will already be behind us. It'll be the off season. What does that bring to mind?
It'll be the off season for some.
Yeah.
I've got to go to Arizona and manage in Arizona for 6 more weeks.
Oh, in instruct?
Yeah, at the Arizona Fall League.
Oh, right.
So I'm going to get to go do that. But you know what? Tell you what, I'm going to look back, and I'm going to be absolutely grateful for the opportunity, absolutely grateful for the staff that I had this year and the players that we've had and the trials and tribulations that we went through, because if you're not grateful for it, I don't know what you can be grateful for. It's been a great season so far, and it's been a lot of fun, and I love these guys.
What are you looking forward to about the AFL?
Obviously new challenges. Going to have five teams besides mine to deal with as far as players, and creating new relationships with those players and the new staff members that I'll be with, and trying to create that winning atmosphere in a short-term window. It's going to be a lot of fun to have that challenge and be able to see if we can have some fun out there too.
All right, great. Well, I think that's all I have. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, I just, you know what, it's like I said, it's been a lot of fun, and I owe a lot of gratitude and a lot of thankfulness to my staff and my players this year. It's been a lot of fun, and my hat's off to them.
All right, great. Again, that was Stubby Clapp, the manager of the PCL champion Memphis Redbirds. Back to you, Tyler and Sam.
Well, with everything wrapped up for 2018 on the field, off the field, the affiliation shuffle has finally seen the dust settle, and we got a whole lot of teams headed into 2018 with new affiliates at the AAA level and some other movement around the minor leagues, and we bring in Benjamin Hill to cover that and a whole lot more with us. Hello, Ben.
Hello, Tyler, and hello, Sam Dykstra. Sitting to my root, to my right. I'll
constantly
work this out.
Shifting between your right and your left.
Yeah, I know this. The podcast is an audio medium, and we need to be very precise here. You are sitting to my right, not my root, and we are in conference room 5M, very spacious. And this is in advance of a whole staff editorial meeting where we will be brainstorming things that will bring delight to hopefully many of the listeners.
Yeah, so the off season will definitely be packed based on what we decide here in this room in the next 2 hours.
What I really like is imagining right now you guys are we're 10 minutes away from the start of the meeting. We just started this segment, so I like imagining everybody crowding around the door and just staring in at you 10 minutes from now, waiting for us to wrap this up and making you very uncomfortable that we're going long, because undoubtedly we will go that way because we have a lot to cover today. So I'm going to talk as slowly as possible and make it really uncomfortable for you two.
Yeah, it's cool. I'll just hold up one finger, not profane or anything, but just
hang on,
hold up.
hang on, you people.
Yeah,
hang on out there. You just wait. We're almost done.
Art is being created. You cannot rush the artistic process.
Well, let's talk about some of these affiliation changes. As soon as you get used to some teams being in certain locales, they are on the move for 2019. Here's just a rundown at the AAA level of what we've got moving into 2019. The Fresno Grizzlies, formerly an affiliate of the Houston Astros this season. Next year, Washington Nationals. Las Vegas 51s will be moving into a brand new ballpark where they will not be the AAA affiliate of the New York Mets. They will be the AAA affiliate of the Oakland Athletics. The A's former AAA affiliate, the Nashville Sounds, now with the Texas Rangers going into 2019. The Rangers' former AAA affiliate, the Round Rock Express, are now with the Houston Astros. San Antonio Missions are moving up from AA to AAA in 2019. They will no longer be a San Diego Padres affiliate. They will now be the Milwaukee Brewers AAA affiliate. That one makes sense. Colorado Springs Sky Sox, who were the Brewers affiliate, obviously moving out of AAA into San Antonio, so that's a move that falls in line with what you would assume with all of that rearranging. The Washington Nationals, formerly in AAA in the International League in Syracuse, that will be a Mets affiliate. And the Helena Brewers, formerly the Pioneer League affiliate of the Milwaukee Brewers, they have moved. They'll be in AAA Colorado Springs, formerly AAA Colorado Springs, so Helena now without a team. So a lot of dominoes falling, 7 teams really rearranging their affiliations in that shuffle. Ben, this is a very busy year. We've had a couple of years that have been a little bit calmer than this, but there's a lot of movement this year, especially at the AAA level.
Well, yeah, a lot of movement at the AAA level, which you just ran down. But I think big picture, when we look at overall the number of affiliations that could have changed, I don't think it'll be much more than usual. In fact, might be a little less, because everything's been centered around AAA at this point, and most of the other levels are set and close to it. And not just AAA. This is entirely the Pacific Coast League, outside of Syracuse now being a Mets affiliate, and that's because the Mets own the team. So the PCL is really the one making the waves here, and we still have about more than a week to go in this process. It might get settled before then. So we might see a few other things at the lower levels, but basically what we're talking about now is going to be the bulk of what happens, and also because it's AAA in larger markets, also the ones that get the most attention. And
kind of go into why this happens. I mean, why is there this much movement? Like you said, Syracuse we understand because the Mets bought the team essentially, wanted to be closer to home, and that's one way of going about it. But how did the Nationals end up being a parent club of Fresno, for example? Why do the A's go to Las Vegas? And it sounded like it came down to the Rangers and the Nats for Nashville. How did some of these happen, and why is there this specific movement, I guess?
I mean, well, broadly speaking, and you guys can all speak to this, there's different criteria that both parties are looking for. We always use the mating rituals or, dating analogies when talking about, maybe not mating rituals.
Yeah, maybe.
But
everybody's dancing around everybody doing something.
Yeah, but there is like the kind of dating relationship analogies that go through go into these things. Where both parties are looking for specific things and hopefully find a good match. Proximity is not the be all and end all, but it's certainly important, for both parties, to be close to one another. On the major league level, you really want that, especially with your AAA team for call-ups. It gets more complicated than that because your AAA team's not always at home, and they might be in some far-flung locale when you need the call up. But regardless, proximity is good, and also for members of the major league front office to be able to visit said place. And not just in AAA, but you want your whole system to be as close as possible for all the movement going on from A to advanced and AA, AAA, and what have you. In the major league level, they're looking for, in addition to proximity, a big part of it is the quality of the facility. This is about player development, so newer ballparks with better player amenities are going to be much more important. And so that is obviously a huge factor. And kind of tying in with the proximity, travel is important just in terms of how easy it is to get in and out of a place. Vegas, and the Mets were not good as a fit, obviously, geographically. And at the time, the Las Vegas 51s were in an older ballpark, and that wasn't good either. They're moving to a new one next year. But if you look at a place like Vegas, there are flights in and out of Vegas to all sorts of locations every day, including at night. Compare that to somewhere like Fresno, and that's one of the reasons that Fresno is not desirable for a lot of teams, is because that's a small airport. So you're just talking about the logistics of player movement, the physically getting the bodies from place to place. It become a lot more difficult in that sort of setting. So this time around, a lot of it we kind of knew what was going to happen in advance. A lot we didn't. Some, including myself, had just sort of lazily, kind of complacently assumed that San Antonio, now in AAA, would end up with the Texas Rangers just because, hey, it's Texas.
Yeah.
And I had kind of overlooked the fact that AAA club had previously been in Colorado Springs. It had been a Brewers affiliate. And also on the other side of that is that the Rangers, they sacrifice some in proximity, but to get to a far better facility. San Antonio has now they're going to AAA. They have one of the worst ballparks in AAA, one of the older ones, less amenities. Nashville is just 4 years old and one of the best. So I think it was kind of assumed, not just by me, but a lot of other people, it wouldn't shake out that way, and it would either be the Nats or the Brewers in Nashville, and it turned out to be the Rangers. The big loser in all of this, and again, to use the analogy, is just the last two people at the bar at closing time, are the Washington Nationals having to go to Fresno. Fresno is great, promotionally. Their ballpark, Chuck Chansey Park, is fairly decent. But again, a tough city to fly in and out of, and it's something like 2,800 miles away from Washington, D.C. That it puts a major strain on the Nats. Obviously, something they didn't want. But with losing their affiliation with Syracuse due to the Mets buying it, and they were just the odd men out, and there's really nothing you can do. And every time we see this shuffle, you always see, a couple dud relationships within it where everyone puts on a good face and you have positive quotes in the press release, but it's just pretty clear that these relationships are happening just because there were literally no other options.
You can even see that in the Nats announcement. Did you see the Nats announcement of announcing the PDC? It was just like the Washington Nationals announced that they have come to, like all these other ones were like the Oakland Athletics are excited to announce that we're partnering with the Las Vegas 51s and all this kind of stuff. And for the Nats, it was just like, so we'll be in Fresno for 2 more years.
Yeah.
And it's the shortest amount of PDC can be because they don't go year to year. They go every 2 years, right?
Yeah, these are 2 or 4. You can agree to have it for 2 or 4 years.
Right.
And they expire. The ones that are expiring expire at the conclusion of even numbered years.
Right. So they'll be there. It was just funny to watch this all shake down. And like you said, we'll probably have some more go down in the AA, Class A, Advanced, Class A, all the lower levels in the coming weeks. But PCL will be drastically different next year.
There was some really good stuff from Josh Sushan, who's the radio voice of the Albuquerque Isotopes, and Alex Friedman, friend of the podcast, who's the radio voice of the Oklahoma City Dodgers. Alex tweeted earlier this week, quote, "Just for fun, I decided to see what it takes to fly from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, the Nationals Double-A team, to Fresno. Although the cost was not as exorbitant as I thought it would be, it seems it can't be realistically done in less than 9 hours when including layovers, etc." Josh from Albuquerque, Josh had a good thread in which he said something to remember about the importance of geography when it comes to affiliations. On average, the Major League and AAA affiliate are both home roughly 25% of the time. Last year, the Isotopes and Rockies We're both home on the same date only 15 times out of 140 AAA games. With just a few exceptions, the player is getting on a plane anyway and has most of the day to get there. Major League teams care more about facilities, atmosphere at games, and relationship with their AAA front office than they do geography. But then did include some other notes about geographic positioning for some of these things. He said, "This is a complete disaster for the Nationals. While I tweeted yesterday that geography is usually overstated, it's not in this case. They will be 2,796 miles from Fresno, 3 time zones away, and their new AAA affiliate, as Ben just noted, has one of the smallest airports in AAA." And then Josh also noted, "It's not as bad as when the Pirates had their AAA affiliate in Honolulu from 1983 to 1986, which is like 9 billion miles away." So that could, things get worse. You could have to travel 6 miles just from the West Coast to even get to your AAA affiliate. But there's a ton that goes into this, and this is going to be an interesting position for the Nationals to be in for the next couple of years.
Yeah, and follow those 2 guys you mentioned.
Yeah.
I mean, we already do, but Josh Sushan and Alex Friedman and broadcasters in general. I mean, Tyler knows this. Great sources of information and often have insight that no one else has because they're literally living it.
And one thing I just want to point out, because I just saw it on Josh's Twitter feed today, but if you are a minor league broadcaster who listens to this show, and I know we have a lot of them, the pinned tweet on Josh's Twitter feed, and he's at Josh_Suchan, you can send him clips of your play-by-play work from this year. Josh will give you a critique and send you some feedback and all that type of stuff. And Josh is truly one of the best dudes, not just in minor league baseball, but in all of baseball and anybody that you will meet. So if you're looking for somebody with a lot of AAA experience, if you're a lower-level play-by-play broadcaster, and somebody who wants some good feedback, go check out Josh's Twitter feed and get in touch with him. We'll continue along this week's conversation with Ben. We have crossed over 2 o'clock Mountain Time, 4 o'clock Eastern Time, which means we're getting close to our all-staff meeting, and I'm going to continue tap dancing to try to hang Sam and Ben out to dry in the conference room that they're occupying from everybody else. But Ben was in Grand Junction to wrap up the regular season with the Grand Junction Rockies, the rookie-level affiliate of the Colorado Rockies, and came across a really cool story with a Rockies minor league pitcher who is kind of under the radar, I think it's safe to say, Jesse Stinnett, who was signed out of an independent league. He's a 23-year-old native of the state of Virginia, a guy who played college ball and jumped into affiliated ball after starting out in independent ball. He went to school at Maryland Eastern Shore and then pitched in indie ball, and this year was in the Pioneer League, but does some really, really cool artwork. He does some digital artwork. Tell us about Jesse Stinnett's sort of off-the-field career that could blossom. This is really cool stuff. We were talking, sometimes you see some work from people who get a lot of pub for their artistic talents, and you think, okay, it's I can see how that appeals to some people, but maybe not necessarily me. This is one of those things that I look at and think, man, I would buy any one of these. This is really cool stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Grand Junction was where I ended my travels this year. Final ballpark I had to visit, and just like everywhere I go, I just kind of ask around, is there anyone with an interesting story? And I was pointed to Jesse Stinnett. And, you gave his background, not a prospect per se, but someone who's kind of hustled, grinding his way into affiliated ball. And he does what he calls, different mediums of art, but primarily baseball-centric pop art. So the colors, pop, a lot of colors, some exaggerated features, a little bit cartoonish. He's done Mike Trout. He's done a self-portrait, and he has a lot of stuff. He designs tattoos for his teammates. There's a link in the story to his website. He's on Instagram and all the usual channels. But I think it's just cool. I mean, you and Sam and almost everybody else is really tapped into covering the players. So when I do it, I want to find those sort of off the beaten path stuff and hopefully give their work a little bit of a boost and try to create rooting interest for guys outside of their prospect status, but just because they're doing cool things. And Jesse, he mostly does digital pop art, so he's actually working on a tablet and then drawing on a computer screen, and he's definitely got his own style. And he's 23. I imagine he'll only continue to improve for a long time.
So that's a really cool story up on the site right now, and we'll wrap things up with this week's conversation with Ben. There's a story coming to the site on the history of Jackie Robinson Ballpark in Daytona, which is one of the most historic ballparks, not only in the Florida State League, but really all across minor league baseball, and has been kind of in a unique position as it's compared to other FSL ballparks. But tell us about this one, Ben.
Yeah, this will be my last on-the-road story of the year. I was in Daytona in July, and this kind of got lost in the shuffle, but I'm returning to it now to wrap things up. But, in a nutshell, nutshell, it's Jackie Robinson Ballpark in Daytona. The ballpark, its roots go back to 1914. It's one of the oldest in all of professional baseball. But in 1946, Jackie Robinson trained there in spring training prior to his season with the AAA Montreal Royals, which preceded his 1947 season breaking the color line. And I talked to a local historian, Bill Schumann, whose research played a large role in renaming the ballpark, and he was on the Jackie Robinson Statue Committee, which got the statue done that's now outside the ballpark, and talked to him about how this came about. And I think it's a really interesting story. Why Daytona Beach? Why in the Jim Crow South, where there are other Florida locales that refused to have Jackie Robinson play, why did it work in Daytona Beach? And that's because of Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune, the founder of Bethune-Cookman University, a historically black college. She, was a real mover and a shaker, for a lack of a better term. Served, was an advisor to President Roosevelt. Was able to get New Deal money to the state or to Daytona Beach, and had a lot of clout. So the political atmosphere and culture in Daytona Beach was much more open to that sort of thing because of all the legwork that she had done in that community. And so that's the story coming tomorrow. Just giving a little bit more detail on why Jackie Robinson Ballpark is Jackie Robinson Ballpark, and how those events of 1946 came about.
So that story, by the time you're listening to this, is probably up on the site at milb.com. You can check out Ben's blog, bensbiz.mlblogs.com. You can follow Ben on Twitter. He is there at bensbiz. And Ben, off-season stuff coming up. We'll talk to you next week and get a look at what's coming up as we get into the non-baseball part of the baseball calendar. We'll talk to you then.
Yeah, well, next week you'll be talking to me from Des Moines at the promo seminar.
All right.
So that'll be exciting.
Promo seminar time. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, absolutely. And now we have gone late on this segment, and I think it's time to start our meeting. We have Josh Jackson on a video remote call, so we've been looking at Josh's face, just watching us like some sort of overlord as we do this podcast. So
that is fantastic.
So, Josh Jackson, he's a great writer for this website, as well as I'm sure you all know. Follow him on Twitter. And he's bowing to me as I speak. So thanks, everybody, for listening. Sam's just wandering around. We got to start this meeting.
Thanks, Ben. So that'll do it. We don't really have much to talk to you about for our final segment. We don't get to plug MILB.TV because we don't have it until next April. We don't have any fall league games to plug as of yet. I don't know. What do we do now?
We have Major League Baseball we could talk about, but that's not our show. That's not our thing. You know that the Major League postseason races are going on, especially Tyler out west. Yeah. You guys are currently embroiled in one of the tightest races we've seen so far. After the walk-off home run, the Los Angeles Dodgers getting the victory behind generic created MVP 2005 baseball player Chris Taylor. Josh Jackson, our resident Los Angeles representative for MILB.com. Bureau Chief. West Coast Bureau Chief.
Our West Coast Bureau Chief, Josh, said, let me see if I can find our exact exchange from last night. He said, here it is. It was like seconds after that home run cleared the fence, and Josh said, "This NL West, man," and I replied in all caps, "Don't even start." And he said, "I didn't say nothing."
He prodded the bear. He knew exactly what he was doing.
He knew what he was doing. He always knows what he's doing.
He put his hand in the cage, and he was just like, "I don't understand. I don't know where this came from." I
said, "I don't want to hear a thing," and he said, "Nothing is literally not a thing." And I said, okay, then I have to send you the Johnny Tight-Lips gif from The Simpsons of Johnny Tight-Lips saying, "I ain't saying nothing." Yeah, we're all embroiled in all kinds of craziness for the Major League Baseball postseason races. And that's kind of the cool thing about when the minor league season ends, we get to sit back and like fully enjoy the major league playoff races. Like everything else winds down, and everybody in the baseball world gets to lock in on the final couple of weeks of Major League Baseball and on to the postseason. So it's a fun time of year, a very fun time of year, and we'll say goodbye for the final time in the 2018 season for MILB.com's The Show Before the Show podcast. But off-season podcasts start next week. We got some good stuff already planned for next week, Sam.
Yeah, next week, speaking of Josh Jackson, and Kelsie Heneghan was on the show today. Next week, we're planning on bringing all four of us back. Those of us who have stuck with us throughout the season will remember that we had, before the season, we all made predictions. We talked about who would win the Joe Bauman Home Run Award, who would be the top prospect going into 2019. We made all sorts of predictions. So next week we'll circle back. We'll kind of put three strikes off to the side. We'll bring Josh and Kelsie in, revisit some of our predictions, where we went right, where we went wrong, and what happened to make us right and make us wrong. So look forward to that next week. Just because the offseason has arrived does not mean this train is stopping.
I know that Josh is very happy with one of his predictions from last year and or from this season, from last March, whenever we did those. Very unhappy with another one, which he said negates his good one. So be tuned in for that.
Find out next week.
Find out. Stay tuned for the thrilling conclusion. That'll be next week. So get pumped and join us then. For Sam Dykstra, my name is Tyler Mullen. We'll talk to you next week.